TinkerCAD tips. Hey, another big shout out to the great folks at AutoDesk TinkerCAD. They've made some more improvements that they didn't necessarily announce. Now, I think many of you know that work with TinkerCAD a lot, that TinkerCAD does have some limitations. For instance, within the meshes that make up all of these objects in this particular project, there's a maximum of 300,000 triangles. So certain shapes that are rounded will use up more of those triangles than, say, square shapes like a cube, as an example. What they've done recently is they've increased the number of sides so that we can make things look rounder. Here's an example, the cylinder. Now these are all from the basic shapes over here on the right, the cylinders right here. It used to be that on number of sides that cylinders could only max out at 64 sides. And if you zoomed real close in, let's change this to 64. If you zoomed in, you could begin to see the flat sides on the object. Well, what they've done recently is they've doubled that up. We can now go to 128 sides and make it look almost perfectly round. In fact, when you go to print something like this, you won't see any of those flats at all. Another example is the cone here. The cone comes in at 48, used to have a maximum of 64. We'll now go to 128, so it looks nice and smooth. Same with this paraboloid here. The default is 48. But we can go up to 128 so it looks nice and smooth. That's another one they've updated. We get over here to the torus. Same thing. This one comes in, and this one has two different measurements that you can increase here, sides and steps. There used to be a limitation on this as far as the number of steps is 64, but now we can max that out to 64 sides. 128 steps, and look how smooth that looks now. When printed, you won't be able to see that it's flat-sided at all. Here's another one. This tube comes in here, the number of sides at 48, but we can increase that now to 128. Here's one that doesn't get used often, but has its purposes, the ring. This one also comes in at 48, but you can increase it to 128. Now this one's a little bit special in that you can make changes to the shape of that, stretch things out, etc. here. Now a couple of them that haven't appeared to recently have changed would be, for instance, the sphere. Now sphere has 3 dimensions that have flat sides essentially. All we have for the sphere is just number of steps. This one still maxes out at 64. Who knows, maybe they'll change that in the near future. Now there's a couple of basic shapes that do have rounded sides, but for whatever reason don't have any parameter where you can increase that. Here's the half sphere, for example. You'll see here under the dialog that there's no settings for sides or steps. Now, if you really wanted something like this to be perfectly smooth, you could take a normal sphere, max out the sides, and split it in half. You can recreate this half sphere. Another one is this rounded roof. You can kind of see the flat sides going on here. But again, there's no setting for that. Again, you could take a standard cylinder, increase the maximum number of sides, and split it in half. Now, some of these shapes also have high-definition versions over in the shape generators. Let's take the sphere here, for instance. If we come and do a search here, I believe there's one called HD Sphere. That's this yellow one here. We'll bring that out. I'm going to Alt-Shift increase the size a bit. Now notice this one has a setting called resolution. By increasing that, you can eliminate more of the flat sides of this. So, there's an update. Got to thank the good folks over at TinkerCAD Autodesk. As always, like, follow, and share. If you have any questions or comments, you can always drop a comment here in this tutorial, or you can DM me at any time. Hope to see you guys in the next one. Oh, by the way, always looking for good content. So if you have a conundrum in TinkerCAD or a question on how to do something, drop me a DM. Maybe I'll do a tutorial about that. See ya.